Hey, it's night over there. Yeah.
Hello, hello, Ian. Hello, Tammy.
Hello.
Well, hi, Jack.
We're on bright and early.
Yeah,
Mm, I guess I just wanted to check in and see if you have any sanity for me. Um, I guess, yeah, I think just continuation of both sides being able to, at some times, um, see stories and emotions as they are arising and not go there. And then now I'm about to go to a family event, and there's stuff with my sister that's been going on for a few weeks, and there's just a lot of emotions, thoughts, body sensations from not sleeping well. And I'm being like, I go to like, I'm fine, who needs them, I'm good, to oh my god. So I'm just kind of swinging back and forth with extremes, and going into the future, going into the past, going into the present, whatever it is, just not, um, I guess, able to find any kind of mastery, control, presence, something to just find my stillness point or something.
yep. Okay, all right, great. That's a really good one that you're about to go and do that. It's like you're going to a place where you could get triggered. So yeah. So the what comes to mind immediately is what a wonderful opportunity this is, and how you can make use of that opportunity is to kind of have an ongoing question in the background that asks you, are you in the present or are you in the future? Or are you in the past? But the past is probably not as likely as the future, although they're all both involved. So in a way, the past could be mm, evoking expectations about the future. So in a sense, if you were to ask yourself, this a story about what could happen or what is actually happening? If you ask yourself each time the thought turns up, what is actually happening right now as uh, in um, as a juxtaposition to what might happen or what has happened, and so not looking to do anything with that, not looking to come up with a mastery of control or anything other than a realization of where your focus is. Can you see that as a tangible possibility for you?
I think the whole reason I'm going there is because of past and future. I don't like small talk. I don't like barbecues. I don't like a lot of people. I don't like smells. I don't like noise. So the only reason I'm going is because of this label, family. And then everything they do, I interpret in a certain lens and have to respond in a certain lens and remember what context I'm in. In other words, this is not, I don't expect it to be pleasant for me. In other words, maybe some interactions will be, but like, I don't go to some other family's barbecue. It's not, in other words, I'm going because of connections. I'm going because of interpretations. Like, you know what I mean? All of it is
Yeah, yeah.
meaning. None of it is like, that's what I would choose to do. You know what I
Okay,
mean?
so what if we stop and go, am I going or am I staying home? And at the moment, you're going.
Yeah.
right? So forget about a story of why.
Mm.
Just stay with the fact that you're going, right? And then you can narrow it down even further by going, what is happening in preparation for going? Am I getting dressed? Am I, what am I considering bus fare or whatever the details of going involves. And every time the story comes up, I'm going because it's family, or I'm going because of what's happened in the past, whatever. You just go, oh, hang on, that's a story about past and future. What's happening right now? Am I
Mm.
am I going? Yes. How is that manifesting in this very instant?
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting dressed, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, whatever is actually
Mm-hmm.
happening right at this moment. Right? And so what that means is that a secondary behavior, if you like, is that you take your focus away from expectations and reasons and because all of that,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and you just stay with what is actually happening right now. And and if you're there and you're thinking, oh, I don't want to be here, right? Recognize that that is about a fantasy about the future of not being here, or a story about the past and what would have happened once, or whatever, and just go, what is happening right now, right in this instant, right now? And if you do that, you'll go, oh, hang on, I'm just sitting here, I'm standing here, I'm talking to this person, I'm not talking to anybody, right? Just what is going on right now, all the time. If you can bring your focus to that, each time you realize, each time the thought turns up to do that, then I'll guarantee you'll have an experience that you've never had before. Oh, well, maybe that's going too far, but certainly a different experience to what
Yeah.
you would have expected. Yeah,
All right, that's perfect because I don't have to figigure out if I should go, if I shouldn't go, why I'm going, why I'm not. Like, I don't have to think about any of that. Just
yeah,
like, what am I
exactly.
doing
Yes,
now?
beautiful,
Okay.
beautiful. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that is incredibly powerful, way more than you could ever possibly imagine. Yeah. Well, even that's going too far. You probably can imagine it, but who knows? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, another thing that comes up is that my sister and I had a conversation about something, and
yeah. In the
there were
past, yes.
feelings or something a few weeks ago, and we never finished that conversation. And I don't know if to like start it up again or just let us be a bit
All right.
cooler.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So again, you recognise that that was about the past, right? And although we're not dismissing it as inconsequential, we're just saying we're not going to focus on it right at the moment. And so in the back of your mind might also be, oh, I wonder if the opportunity will arise to finish that conversation, right? Then sure, but that's about the future. So again, you'll put it aside. Now it may happen or it may not happen. That's really what's going to go on. So what you're going to do is you're going to be open to whatever happens simply because you keep your focus on the present, what is actually happening right at this moment.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah,
that
because
conversation might or might not happen. It depends on circumstances. If you get the opportunity, or is she going to be busy and talking to her? We don't know. So let's not
Mhm.
focus on what we don't know. What we do
Yeah,
know
and it's
is
like,
what's happening right now.
yeah. And it's like I just keep building huge meanings into it of like, oh my
Yeah.
God, this is going to change our relationship forever. It really feels that way. And if I don't figure out if I should say or not and what I should say or not, it's going to change the whole trajectory of my whole relationship with my favorite baby sister. Like,
Yes.
you know, it's
Yeah. And you
like
can see that happening. That's pretty good.
I'm making into this huge thing, but I really believe it, but I also see it happening, but I also really believe it, but I also see it happening. So that's
Yeah.
really
Yeah. Isn't it interesting? Hmm.
because it seems true. But
Yes, yes. And that, of course, is the whole nature of a lot of our thinking is that it seems true. And so we give it credibility that it doesn't actually deserve. It just seems true.
mhm.
Yeah,
So you're saying I don't need to decide that in advance either, just be open to what happens?
absolutely. Yes, yes. Now, if any of those things do happen, you do decide in the future, in advance and so on, right? Then the moment you realize that you've done that, you just push it into the background. You're not going to try and stop it. You're just going to shift your focus to what is happening right this instant. What is going on in this organism now?
And you don't think there's any place to like figure out if I should talk to her and what should be said or not? Like there's no place to do that. There's just a place to be open to what life brings. There's no place to like analyze or think in advance of how it should be handled.
The short answer is yes and no. There is no place to focus on it, but it
Hmm.
will happen or not anyway, regardless of of your intention. So
Hmm.
but if it happens, it can happen in the background. It doesn't need to be a primary focus.
Hmm.
So of course there's figuring out going on. Of course there's taking into account what's happened in the past. All of that does happen, but you just don't need to focus on it. You focus on what is going on right now, and the other stuff will take care of itself. Now,
Wow.
literally, I don't just mean metaphorically. I mean it will
Mhm.
literally take care of itself.
Without me needing to sit and think about it, you think?
Yeah, thinking about it will still happen, but it will happen in the background. It will happen at an unconscious level. It would, well, it, whatever. So essentially, it's not something that requires a primary focus.
Meaning you don't think I need to think about it on a conscious level?
No, that's right. Yes, you don't need to think about it on a conscious level. Right? So
That
what?
sounds recklessly irresponsible, Vince.
Yeah, from the old perspective,
Yeah.
that's a legitimate description of it, but it ignores a reality. That's why it seems reckless and irresponsible, right? Regardless of how much conscious effort you put into doing things, somebody somewhere is always going to call it reckless and irresponsible or responsible and considered. It's irrelevant. It's just somebody else's opinion or it's your opinion. It doesn't matter. You will do what you need to do. That will happen. It will happen. Your brain is quite capable of multitasking. It can watch what's going on for you right now while at the same time working out what's appropriate to say or not to say. And a lot of the time, it's much more appropriate to not say something that you think than it is to say it.
Hmm. But you really think that the processing, it's enough what happens on the unconscious level, and I don't have to go around analyzing my life and figuring out? You really think that?
Absolutely, absolutely. And all of the resources you would bring to figuring it out at a conscious level will still come into play at an unconscious level.
Hmm.
And unconsciously, you're not inhibited by a whole lot of things. So there's a much broader perspective going on at that level. So you're better off doing it unconsciously than consciously.
Hmm. I mean, if that were true, that would be amazing. But
We'll try it
I mean,
out.
if it were true for me, yeah, and not just for like special people like you or whatever. But yeah,
That's right. Yeah,
okay.
no, absolutely. You're no different to me in that way. Absolutely, your ability to do that, right? So can you get that if you start doing it at a conscious level, very, very quickly, stories of consequences come in that interfere with that processing.
Hmm.
Whereas at an unconscious level, they don't have the prominence that they do at conscious level. So
Mm-hmm.
consequently, there's less interference. There's more. There's a better ability to cleanly work things out at an unconscious level than at a conscious level. Yeah, they still all have a place.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's
Mm-hmm.
omitted. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But just less of the conscious levels needed than I think.
Yeah, yeah. So the conscious level is like, you for a start, when you bring it up to a conscious level, you've got a much narrower bandwidth than what you do at an unconscious level. And then you've got all of these interference stories that turn up about possible consequences and what will people think of me and all sorts of things that come in that don't happen at the same level, with the same intensity at an unconscious level. They still happen, but not in the same way. They kind of,
Mm-hmm.
blend in with the whole thing. Yeah. So try it out. See what happens. You can make a decision later that says that was good or that's not a good way to do it.
All right. So, all right. So let me just give myself the cues because I'm going to forget everything. So, um, all right. So not tell myself stories about if I want to be there, if I don't, why I'm here, not all these questions. Why am I here? Should I? All this forget about. What am I doing right now? Where am I? That's it.
Yes.
Um,
So each time your awareness pops up a thought about what's going on, there can be an associated thought about what's happening right now in this instant. What's happening in this? What's this organism doing? What's happening
mhm,
for this organism, right? And that thought will be triggered by the realization that stories of past and present and future have all turned up.
mhm.
So even if stories of the present turn up, right, they're stories about, well, they almost certainly won't be just about the present. They'll be about what could happen in the future.
So like right now, my body's really buzzing and like I'm not very calm and I'm kind of clumsy. So then I start to make up stories. Oh, maybe this means that I shouldn't go or that I should talk to my sister or not, or maybe I didn't sleep enough or maybe I should move house. Like, so just try and forget about all those reasons why my body's like this and just
Yeah,
focus on my body's like that. How do I best handle it or whatever?
yeah. So what you can do is you can go, oh, my body is buzzing right now. Maybe that means, oh, hang on, I was about to go into stories about what led up to this, about not sleeping enough, or maybe I'm anxious about what's going to happen. Forget it. Push it aside, push it away and say, it's a maybe. I don't know. I don't actually know why. What's going on is my body is buzzing. Oh, let's have a look at that. Where is the buzzing? What does it feel like? Get into the sensations, right? And then the next thing you know is that you're going, oh, I need to get dressed to go to this do, or whatever. So you're not going to try and control things. It's going to be a process of realization and thoughts turning up. And the realization is that you're into something, a story about meaning, push it in the background and go, okay, what is going on? Oh, there's this buzzing. Now, I don't know why exactly. I can imagine why. I can come up with stories about why, but let's not focus on those stories. Let's focus on what's actually happening, the buzzing. Right? And then you
Mhm.
can get into the sensation of that. Next thing you know, you're in the sensation of it. And next thing you know, you're doing something else. You're putting on your clothes to go, or you're getting your purse ready to go, or whatever. It's all happening. So you'll go from focusing on what is actually going on to realizing that you're moving through that. You're actually moving into the next phase of what's going on.
Yeah, and there's also layers of levels when I'm listening to. In other words, I could say, well, I'm just standing at a family event, or I could say, well, I'm just standing and there's people here, or I could say, well, there's
Okay.
buzzing
Yeah.
and a headache. Like there's all kinds of
Right.
things I can pay attention to, but I guess they're all okay. I don't know.
Yeah. 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 Hang on. Well, so what comes up for me there is when you say I'm just standing at a family event. That's a story, right? What we want is a description of what is actually happening, right? So then you go, what does it feel like to be standing? Right? Forget about the fact that I'm at a family event. You can say, I'm standing. There are people around me. What's going on in this body is dot, dot, dot. If you see what the difference between saying I am standing at a family event doesn't describe your experience. It's a
Hmm.
story level about what's happening, but it's a story
Hmm.
level. Yeah. So you want to bring it back to what is your experience in this organism, in this instant?
Like sensations and feelings rather than thoughts.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Hmm.
Not to achieve anything, just to get better at doing that.
Hmm.
So when
To
you,
not get lost in the story because that's limiting. Okay.
yeah, and it also takes you out of what's going on. So we
Mhm.
need to come back into what's going on. What is my current experiencing? This is good
Right.
stuff. This is really good stuff, and it's really good that you're in a position to be able to do that. That's excellent. I love that.
Yeah, I hope so. Because even now, when you said, no, we have to focus on what's going on, my mind starts to work. Well, what's going on is my sister said that, and 30 years, da da da. And that's what's going on for me. That's
Yeah,
literally where my focus is my whole life. So, I
yeah, but
mean,
that's
pattern
no, that's
recognition,
about your.
analysis.
That is not your focus. That is about your focus. Now, I don't. You might not quite get that, but let me see if I can kind of bring some awareness to that, right?
Mm.
Right. When if you can say that those words or thoughts or whatever they are about something, then what you've got is a story. What you've got is a concept, right? It's not the thing itself. It's about the thing. And so what we want to do is delineate the difference between what is about the thing and what is the thing. Right? So I am standing at a family event is about what's going on, right? Weight on my heels, tension in my legs, what this body is experiencing, that is the thing itself. And the thing itself doesn't really know that it's at a family event. It knows that it's standing or sitting or whatever is happening. But you know what I mean? So the difference is you're not talking about something, you're describing something directly.
It's very interesting because to me, the whole, this is how we started off today of like, the whole reason I'm doing that, like all of it is driven by the meaning and the story and the emotion. That's everything why I do most things. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
another.
that's about it.
Mhm.
Now, what I'm saying is that you will discover that this is happening for an entirely different reason to what you're thinking that it's about. Right. So you're saying, well, here's the meaning that I'm coming up with, and that's what I'm responding to. Now, it might be true. I'm not saying it's not true. What I'm saying is it takes you away from what is actually going on. It projects you into a fantasy, even though that feels pretty solid and feels like it's more than a fantasy, but it is a fantasy that you're involved in when you're there because of a meaning. So what I'm saying is you're there, full stop, period. You're there. That's it. Because of the meaning is a story about it.
That's really, it's fascinating what you're saying because everything I do is it. So you're saying it only seems to me that it's driven by my fantasies, by my imaginations, by my interpretations and meanings, that that's not necessarily why my body does stuff.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. It may be an accurate fantasy, or it may not be. It may be that that is the case, but that's irrelevant, right? To focus on that means that you're not focusing on what is actually going on. You're lost in a story about what's going on. Now, whether that story is accurate or not doesn't matter. It's still a story. It's
I
still a
guess to me,
concept you are lost in.
right, but I think what I'm trying to get at, I'm trying to understand what I'm trying to put to say. I'm not entirely sure. I think what I'm trying to say is that to me, that's the whole meaning of life is the meaning and interpretation we give it. Otherwise, there's no mean. In other words, the whole thing is like, oh my gosh, like I'm married to this person, or this is my child, or this is my work, or I love this. All of those stories are life. You know what I mean? Like person walking, sitting
No,
on there,
no,
eating and
they're not.
going to sleep is boring. There's nothing there.
Yeah,
You know what I
then
mean?
that's not the case. But I mean, I can imagine, I can accept that you think that's the case. No, but that's
Mm-hmm.
not life. That's about life,
Mm-hmm.
right? Life, right now. I'll give you, I'll tell you a big secret. The meaning of life. You want to know what the meaning of life is?
I'm here for it, Vince.
Yeah, to live. Full stop. Period. Anything else is made up. Now let's not have a philosophical argument or discussion about that. Well, what I'm saying is that those things are about life, and if you're living in them, you're not living life. You're living in a fantasy about life. So let's get out of the fantasy and back into actual life. And in actual life, the meaning of things, the reason for things is irrelevant. What we're talking about is what is actually happening, not why it's happening.
I guess to me, it seems that life is pretty awful. And so I have to lift myself up by giving it special
Yeah,
sacred meaning.
yeah, I get that. I get that. Yeah, 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 yeah. What? Well, you know, see, I know
Like if you
something.
think,
Yeah,
like if you think that you just eat, go to the bathroom, go to sleep, go to, I don't know, it's like, no, we have to make it more special. And that's
yeah.
everything that I do. I go to choir and I'm like, listen, guys, we're going to create, this magic world with our voices. Like, that's what I do. I try to create magic because otherwise it's just a body eating and sleeping. I mean, this is crazy.
No, well, let me tell you, life is not boring. Life is not ordinary, and well, I can really only tell you from my perspective, right?
Hmm.
And getting into singing and doing that stuff you said, brilliant, brilliant. That happens. That happens in a fantastic way. None of it requires you to control for it to happen. It will happen anyway. Going to the bathroom, oh my God, that's a wonderful experience. Having a shit, wonderful, fantastic. What a great experience that is. Can you believe the way this body works? It's amazing. There's some brilliant stuff that you would say, oh well, that's pretty boring when you don't make it special. You don't have to make it special. It is special, but you're not seeing it because you're lost in a fantasy world. That's a bit brutal. I kind of want to apologize for being so brutal, but it's true. You got to you once you get beyond the fantasy world, the magic appears. The wonderfulness of it appears. The amazingness of it appears. It is there for you to think
So you're
that
saying,
without, yes,
no, go on, go on.
I say for you to think that without control and effort, that doesn't appear, simply is, are you telling me that you haven't experienced that yet? But you will.
Or maybe what you're saying is that I only think that I have to try and get excited about things. Maybe I do have natural excitement about life. I just think
Yeah.
that it's because of my stories, but you're saying even without my stories, I would still have excitement.
Absolutely, yeah, especially, and you especially, because that's your personality. You do get excited about things. You are a passionate person. At least that's my interpretation, the way I see you from what I know of you. And so that's your personality isn't going to change. You'll still get excited about things. You'll still look for the magic when you go singing and teaching and playing and so on. All of that, none of that's going to go away. But you will have a much greater appreciation of it when you appreciate that it's somehow that it's inherent in that stuff rather than there because you put it there.
But what about when I hear something or I direct my choir and suddenly they're listening and they're singing beautifully and I go, wow, that's so beautiful. Isn't that also a story that I'm believing?
Are you, if you go, wow, that's beautiful, are you faking it or are you saying something that you experience?
No, I'm saying my body feels like chills from it. Like,
Yeah, yeah, you're experiencing beauty, and so you're describing what you're feeling, right? There's nothing fake about that.
so I'm not responding to my story that it's beautiful. You think I'm responding to it itself?
I think you're responding directly to what you experience, the beauty in
Mm-hmm.
it. Yeah, no, I don't see any story in that. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You could pull back to a perspective where you would describe that happening, and that would be the story about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when you relive that now and you tell me about it, like sure you're producing a story, but it's an accurate story about your experience. So you're describing your experience each time. You know, if you're describing your experience of beauty in the that come as a result of the voices in the choir or whatever, right? That's pretty direct. You're not in fantasy land.
Mm-hmm.
And so yes, so of course this idea of stories and concepts, can be refined and the difference and it's a subtle difference, but it's a huge difference. And that is if it's about something in the expression of it, then it's a story. If it's a description of what is actually happening, it's not a story. It's a description, right? It can be seen as a story, but that's only when you think about it. But the actual original expression is not a story. It's a description.
So here's a weird one. Am I actually responding to the voices and the sounds, or am I responding to my own thoughts about how sounds should be? And because they've achieved it, then I'm happy. And like, I don't know how far to take this stuff.
Yeah, that's a bit of a tricky one, that one. Yeah. So you're responding to your experience. Now, if your experience comes because of stories about how right, how accurate, or how whatever those sounds are, that's still you're still responding to an experience that you're having.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets a bit tricky, and I would say no, we don't need to focus too much on that right at the moment because as you get better and better at this stuff, the gap will become wider and you'll see more clearly what the difference between a concept and what is actual is. So
Mm-hmm.
it's true to say you're expressing what you experience. Now don't worry about whether what you experience comes from your thoughts about it or
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
a direct consequence of the sounds hitting your ears, right? So certain sounds hitting your ears will sound beautiful. Other sounds, a flat note, for example, might sound really off and you're going to have a negative experience to that, right? And then you'll tell yourself, oh, that was a bad note, right? So you're not really responding. immediately, but what's a bad note and what's a good note, what sounds good and what sounds bad to you, that may well have been developed as a result of your learning, as a result of your of stories, but that's irrelevant. Right? So
Hmm.
you're responding to your experience, and that's that regardless of where it come from or how your experience developed that. It doesn't matter at the moment.
All right. So same now, like my body's going through a lot. There's like rushes and like feelings of elation and then deflation and exhaustion. Like it's going up and down. It's like
Yeah,
wild experience right now. So I don't need to figure out why. I just need to and I don't need to suppress it or say it's bad or good, or I need to figure out the causes of it so that it'll go away, because that's really what my mind starts to do. Is this about my sister? Is this
yeah,
about the family? And then I
yeah.
start to, is it about me? So you're saying just stay with the experience and don't worry about
Yes,
why or how to solve it.
absolutely, absolutely. And what you'll find is it will change as a result of that.
Okay.
Not as a result of anything you do, but just as a result of you getting into it, being more absorbed in what is actually happening. That's all it takes for it to change. And that's when I say, "Oh, that's all of it," I don't mean it a minuscule way. That's a hugely powerful thing that will you'll discover. Just simply recognizing it and accepting it will be enough for it to change, especially if it's something that's a bit out of balance or whatever.
Yeah, because there's all kinds of stuff and then I get really scared about what it means. But
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right. So I'll try and be a big girl and contain it, like not try and like,
Ah,
figure it out and solve it, just like be able to feel it. It's scary, but okay.
yeah.
All
You
right,
could be a
perfect.
big girl and do that, or you could be a really, really little girl before you knew anything about meaning and you just
Mm.
experience it. Yes.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vince. You are amazing. Thank you so much. All right. Thanks,
Oh,
guys.
thank you.
Great
Let's see how
day.
you go, Tammy. Yeah, good one.
Thank you. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, can I
Yes, yes.
do some? Yeah, I feel my question is similar to the one that Tammy asked you, because it has to do with the things that we want and we don't want, that we want to do or we don't want to do. But there is also the identification of the body in my case, because I've been having this pain in my foot for some months, and it's like an injury that is the consequence of having running too much during the winter. I've spent like all winter like running, and then I injured my foot, and then for the last 3 months, I've been having this pain in the foot, and this prevents me from doing all the things that I love to do, like just taking a long walk or going on a hike with my friends, just like
Mm,
enjoying doing simple things. And there is this feeling that the body is limiting. The me thinks that it's limited by the body, and this happens every time that there is I don't know, I feel sick or I feel tired or I have something some injury, like this feeling of being limited by the body. And I suspect that what you were telling to Tammy is right. Like in the now, in the present, there is nothing of that, because like observing what is right now. And the problem comes when I begin to project into the future, like all the things that I'd like to do in the future, and I can't do them. Even just opening the door right now and going for a walk, that's already into the future, like a projection into the future. So I I kind of know that staying here and feeling here is more helpful, but
mm,
there is still this identification with the body. it's like as long as there is this identification with the body, there will always be this feeling of being limited by it.
Mm.
And this is just a case of that. And it's a very,
Yeah,
very
yeah,
linear
yeah,
and evident case of that, like being limited by the body because the
yeah.
body can't do
Right.
something that it could do before, or
Okay. So let's just imagine that you're you're sitting there now, and the idea comes for you to go for a walk, to go outside and go for a long walk. And you get up and you go to the door and you open the door and it's blowing a blizzard.
mm.
Would that limit you?
Yeah, yeah, because
Yeah, yeah.
there
Don't
is
worry
this
about why.
will and there's
Yeah,
this
don't worry
this
about.
friction with reality. With
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that the limitations imposed by the body are no different to the limitations imposed by the weather or
mm,
anything else of a tangible physical nature, right? So are they limitations? Well, they're limitations when you want to do something that they're stopping you from doing. And so is the issue that they're limiting, or is the issue that you want something that the conditions are saying is not appropriate?
mm, yeah, yeah. But the difference is that if there is a blizzard outside, I'm not identifying with the blizzard. But if there is an injury in my body, it's like it's me that it's not
Right.
enough.
Well, what I'm
So
saying to you is that there's
yeah,
no difference. What's the difference?
yeah. The difference is only
Yeah.
in the identification
No,
with the
all right.
body
So
because
drop the word identification for the moment, right? And we'll
mm,
come back to it. Let's circle around though. And you describe to me what is it that you experience that you're calling identification? So you don't identify with the blizzard, do you? So
no.
why do you identify with the body? What's the difference between the blizzard and the body? They're both simply conditions that you have to contend with. Well, they're not conditions you have to contend with. They're conditions that curb what the desire is that turns up. So
Yeah,
there's the
there is
desire to
definitely a
walk.
belief. Yeah, there is definitely a belief under this identification with the body, and this
Yeah, yeah,
belief
yeah,
needs to
yeah,
be
yeah,
looked
yeah.
into.
Well, you say you need to look into it. Well, the whole purpose of looking into it would be to discount it, would it not?
Mm.
Are you your body? Well, let's play with
When I
this
think
fantasy.
when I look into what the me is, it is clear that it's just a thought. There is just a
Yeah,
story going on.
yeah,
So the thought that arises here is, how can a thought own the body? It's not
yeah,
possible. Like,
yeah,
but it makes no sense. Like
yeah.
a thought cannot own, a story cannot own the body. A
Yeah.
thought cannot own the body, and so it
No,
doesn't make sense.
no.
But still, there is. It's like there are like emotions, like feelings and reactions associated, and these reactions that they are. There is another kind of identification going on. I think that
Mm,
in the thoughts, when I look into that, like the thoughts, the meat cannot own the body because the meat is just a thought. But
right. So if I
it feels so personal, so close the body.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's That's how you
that is
describe
different
something.
from
Yeah.
the weather condition
Right.
or like a blizzard or stuff that feels
Right.
less intimate, less
Right.
so close to the center.
Right. So if I shave off your eyebrows and shave your face,
Mm.
I take away some of your body. Are you any less you for that?
No, no, that would be just
If I
different.
cut off one hand and one arm, are you any less you?
No, no.
How much of I can I take away before you're any less you? If I cut off both arms and both legs and both ears, are you still you? Or is there any less of you involved?
Maybe it's not a matter of identification, but like the body is wanted, is seen as a vehicle to
Yeah,
get the things that I want, that the me wants. And so
sure.
this
Okay, yeah.
vehicle,
So it feels personal, right?
yeah,
Right. That
it
does it.
feels like
Does
it's owned, like the body is mine, and mine intended as a property, as a tool that the me can use to get what he wants. And so if the me wants to take a walk, it uses the body to get what it wants to
yeah,
get
yeah.
to
I
to
get
go
that.
and
I
take a
get that.
walk.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
And so if the body is limited, there is this feeling of not being enough.
yeah. Okay.
So maybe it's not really identification. Maybe it's that
Yeah, it's that feeling, isn't it? I get that. I
there
get that.
is,
See this hand?
yeah.
When
Mm,
when I damage that finger,
mm,
a, a steel girder fell down and squashed it on the corner of a brick, and it
mm,
and it hung on only by a little bit of skin. And when I
mm,
went to hospital, the doctor got out a pair of scissors and cut that bit of skin and took the end of my finger and threw it in the rubbish bin beside me. I had a really weird feeling when he threw away part of me.
mm, mm,
It, I can still feel it right now when I describe that to you. I can still feel that sense of whoa, that was a really bad thing that he did.
mm,
He just said that that was worthless and threw it away.
mm, yeah.
So what I'm saying is the feeling is there,
Mm,
regardless of why the feeling is there. So it actually happens, that feeling. That feeling of you being limited by the body is real. You feel limited by the body. You feel that you've got to watch it. Right? I hurt my knee dancing, and so every time I feel my knee, I get careful about it.
mm,
You feel these things. They're real. That's real. Now we can make up all sorts of stories about what that means. We can call it identification. I don't, is it maybe? I don't know. But we can, what does it mean? Well, that's irrelevant too. What is the fact is that we've got this actual physical limitation that's no different to the weather, the limitation implied by the weather. Or if you were handcuffed to the bed and you didn't have a key to open the handcuffs, that's a physical limitation, no different. You might want not to be that way, but the reality is you are that way.
mm,
The reality is I can't pick my nose with that finger. I can't do a lot of things with that finger. Right? So I compensate and I use the fingers next to it when I'm typing or picking my nose, whatever, you know. So the the whole point is there's a reality involved. What it means is a story,
Mm,
right? So it's not really identification. What's the identification comes is created when you feel like it's mine, it's me, right? Now that feeling comes from a story, but regardless, the feeling is real. The story isn't, but the feeling is. The reason why the feeling is there is irrelevant.
mm,
Now, if you've got a limitation of your body or handcuffs or the weather, no different. If you want to go out and walk and any of those limitations are there, you're in trouble, aren't you?
mm, mm.
You want to walk and you can't because there are limitations. So is it the limitations that are a problem or wanting to walk that's a problem?
It's not the limitation, but the limitation per se. It's the fears and the emotions that it triggers because the
Ah,
limitation is
yes,
there.
yes,
And then all these thoughts appear and interpret it. And
yes,
then
yes,
all these other thoughts and fears
yes,
and bodily reactions related to the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
emotions
yeah,
appear.
yeah.
So, for example, there
So,
is the fear of, I don't know, relationships with certain friends loosening because I can't go on walks or hikes with them. There
yeah,
is the
yeah,
fear
yeah,
of getting out of shape because
yeah, 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 yeah,
there is all these fears, the fear of getting old and the
yes,
body
yeah,
getting
yeah,
old. There is the
yeah,
fear
yeah,
of being mortal. There are all these fears that get triggered by this
yeah,
limitation. It's just
yeah.
the environment changed because there is a limitation in the body and before there wasn't. And so this limitation triggers all
Yes,
these
yeah, yeah,
reactions.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you can see quite clearly that there's stories about possibilities, aren't they?
Yeah.
They might be accurate. Some of them might be accurate, but it's irrelevant. They're stories. They're not a description of what is actually going on now. They're
No, it's
stories
always in the
about,
future. It's always
yes,
projections about the future.
yeah, yep, yep,
Yeah. Yeah, it triggers a lot of stuff. Like when there is the body involved, a lot of stuff comes up because the body is felt as very close, very personal, very mine. And
mm,
so it's yeah, it triggers a lot more stuff than say a kind of limitation that it is perceived as outside, as
yeah.
like far.
So what is it? What is appropriate? What is an appropriate relationship with the stuff that it triggers?
To feel it as much as possible and to stay with it and
But,
to
but be more
look into it.
specific. I agree with what you say, right,
Yeah,
but
to see it as what it is. It's just it can't be anything else. It can't be different because it's already here and it's this. So everything that is seen as a possibility is just thoughts and stories. And so what is real is this body and with all its limitations and staying with this because it's the only thing that there is.
mm,
So
yeah. So when
and
you,
also with and also staying with all the reactions that appear, like
yeah,
staying here, even if it's painful. because
And
it
not
triggers a
not
lot
judging
of
it. Yep.
emotions, a lot of
Yeah.
old emotions like shame and that feeling of inadequacy and that feeling of fear. All these things are appearing now, here
Mm.
and now. So
Yeah.
that's the only possibility that it's sin.
Mm.
But yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy.
No, of course not. I accept that. Yeah.
And I
And
also feel, and I also feel a little bit of guilt because like it's just an injured foot. Like there are people who can't move, who are totally paralyzed. There are people that are in much worse conditions than me, that have much bigger limitations in the body than
mm,
mine. So there's also like this sense of guilt going on.
mm,
I've,
mm.
I've got the full the full spectrum
Yeah.
of emotions.
So if you were able to stay with what is actually happening, that is both the stories and the response to the stories, and not and not and recognize the inclination for a story to promote the next story, for you to spiral off into other stories, right? So first story is I'm limited story, right? Accurate story in a way, but
Hmm.
still a story. I am limited, right? Because what you're describing is an actual injury that you experience. Now, then you, if you were to go, instead of saying that means and getting off into that one, you stay
Mm.
with what the actual thing is. You might come up with alternatives. You might come up with another way to both honor your injury and still be with your friends, right? Maybe you could bandage your foot and you could walk a small amount, but not a large amount. Maybe you could have dinner with them in or drinks
Mm.
instead of walking with them and still be that way. All sorts of possibilities can come up as a result of not getting carried away with, oh, I'm a terrible person because of this. You know, now they're just possibilities. I don't know what might actually happen, but the result of you not getting lost in the stories about stories and the stories about stories and so on. Yeah, that spiraling off into second arrow stuff where you're responding to what you imagine it means rather than to what is actually happening. So that leaves us open to possible alternatives, much more so.
Mm.
Right? So if those stories turn up, and the old ways will turn up because that's what we're conditioned to do. That's the nature of our habits about the way we think and so on. The invitation is to recognize what's happening and not fight it. Just accept what is, what turns up.
Mm.
And the consequence of that opens up a whole lot of possibilities that we never think of when we get carried away into, oh, this means that I'm a shameful person and I'm going to lose my friends and so on. That's see, there's
Mm.
stories that you
Yeah.
know, yeah,
Yeah, I can see that there is a story that feels more accurate, like I am limited, and then the stories go further and further away from what is here right now.
very quickly, yeah,
Every
yeah,
story that gets added is a little bit further from what is here now.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
they go on a tangent, and they
very quickly, yes.
yeah.
Now, I suggest also that you pay attention to the language you use. In the beginning, you're going to say, "I am limited." And then you
Mm,
realize, hang on, it's more accurate to say there is a physical limitation.
yeah,
Yeah. It's not
yeah,
I am, but
mm,
there is.
mm,
And that
yeah,
and that that eases up some of the personal.
mm,
Right? So if there is a limitation as a result of that injury that happened, right, that's a description.
mm,
But I am limited is a story. It's
yeah,
kind of a subtle difference, but a huge difference. It's a really big one. And we're all limited
mm,
in our own way by all sorts of things. And our experience will be that it's mostly by our body because that's the way we see things. But when you see that the body is no different to the weather, is no different to anything actual physical, then it becomes an objective description. And that opens up possibilities that rather removes the limitation to seeing those possibilities.
mm,
So when you start saying there is an injury, if you were to to apply that to a feeling of shame, you say there is a feeling of shame, straight away you get a big question mark comes up as to, oh yeah, what is this feeling of shame? Where is it? What does it feel like? Well, you don't. There's no ownership involved. You're just describing something, and then you suddenly realise that that word shame, it's not very clear. What the hell is that? What is it we're describing? Ah, and all of a sudden it loosens its hold
mm,
because you're not a shameful person. You just experience this. You just have this experience from time to time that you call shame. But it's not you. It's got nothing to do with you. It's just circumstances, just like the injured foot or like the weather.
mm, yeah.
And you can even see how that those circumstances turned up. You can even see the training that took place for them to happen.
Mm,
And the crazy
yeah.
thing is when you can see that they were conditioned, you realize that they can be deconditioned and we can recondition to something more appropriate.
Mm, yeah.
It opens up possibilities. And we want to turn possibilities into probabilities. Hmm.
Thank you, Vince.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're amazing. Thank you. I feel very grateful for what is happening here in these meetings. Thank you so much.
Very good stuff. Yeah, yeah. And I
Yeah.
and I want you to appreciate how much I appreciate your involvement in that and how much you participate and include in well, I can't think of the word. You offer, you produce towards that you appreciate. You do too. Yeah, all of
You
us
know,
do.
my grandfather, he was like a woodworker. And at one point in his life, he cut his finger with the saw. And our, me and my brothers, we were little children, and he used to let us play with his cut finger, because for us children it was very strange, like seeing half a finger, and we were very curious, and so we used to go to him and ask him to show us his finger, and we were very like playful with that, like smiling and
Yeah,
touching.
it's a good one. Yeah, yeah,
It reminded me
mm,
of that, yeah, of my grandfather. Yeah, he was a good person. Mm.
yeah. Good stuff.
Mm.
All right. I want to talk to Anne now. Tell me, Anne, I saw you logged on earlier. You missed the time or didn't work out the
Yes,
time. Yeah.
yes, but I listened to the recording.
Mm. So how's life been for you?
It's more shining, more light. Colors are very intense. Smells, tastes, and uh, the other side is when I'm not busy. Um, yes, when I'm not busy, there is some restlessness, irritation that's also coming up. And my dreams are more intense, not much, just ordinary stuff. I never have interesting dreams. Um, what came up when you talked to tell me about yesterday on a walk, for example, I see a yellow flower, and immediately I think, oh, what a beautiful shining yellow. And I see the trees and think, oh, this fresh green. And then I noticed I'm always putting a label on it. Maybe because I want to intensify the experience. I don't know, but it's very difficult not to have these labels. I need to look very quickly from one thing to the other to stop it. And is I think it's not direct experience if I'm still labeling.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. So what comes to mind here is I'm excited about this. What comes to mind is labels happen, and it's interesting when labels happen. Yeah, it's almost a bit of a side thing to say this, but with the with the recognition of a label occurring, there is a creation of something going on, right? Now, what that can do is that you don't try and stop it. Don't say I
Mm.
shouldn't do that, right? Because that's not something you can control. That just happens.
Mm.
Right? But the idea that thoughts are saying, isn't that an interesting yellow? Isn't that a, a an intense yellow or whatever, right? The thoughts that are saying it, are those thoughts describing something, an experience for you? Well, of course they are. You wouldn't have the thought that that's an intense yellow without experiencing an intense yellow.
Mm.
But that puts you at the precipice of a wonderful place, a wonderful cliff that you can jump over that says beyond the label is an experience. Right? That's a sign that you can that can pop up from below the cliff. Up in front of you can be this sign that says you're on the edge of a really amazing experience, and that experience cannot be described. And what will happen is that, and this might sound weird, but go with me, you will become that yellow. I've, I'm not even experiencing a color now, and yet I can feel that. You will become that which you are experiencing. The intensity of that yellow will be such that you will be yellow. You will be that color. It will just be all that exists for a moment. That is the experience that happens past the label, over the cliff, into the abyss of yellowness. That is that is that is a story that I'm giving you as a possibility next time you see that intense yellow or that intense greenness or anything that you describe. The description is a very, very surface level of something, but it's a description of something. And what it's of can't be described with words, but it can be experienced. And so next time you see the green of trees, right, the thoughts will turn up saying that's a wonderful green. And you allow those thoughts to do their thing and just let them be in the background. And you will then immerse yourself in that green. You won't be calling it green because in fact it's a variety of shades of green, not just green. There's yellows in there as well, and there's all sorts of other colours, and there's flat greens and shiny greens and all these way beyond what can be described. And you will just be that. You'll just experience it. And if somebody said, "What are you experiencing?" you'll say, "Fuck off, I can't tell you." You know, it's just beyond my ability to describe. It is oh, just, just this. Yeah.
I
Now,
can feel your words landing. It's a very strong body reaction. Thank you.
yeah. The other thing I wanted to address was that restlessness when you're not busy. See, when you're not busy, you are busy, but you've got a story going on that's saying, I should be busy with something else. I should be busy with being productive in some way or being something else, right? When you've got nothing happening, you're incredibly busy. You've got so much going on. When there's nothing going on, there's a million things going on. You know, there's your breathing, there's your seeing, there's your hearing, there's your smelling, there's your feeling. There's all of that stuff is all happening when nothing is going on. And that is like the yellowness of that flower. That is an amazing thing for you to swim in, to sink into and experience.
I think my story about it is when I'm not busy, I'm not covering up feelings. And when I've got time, then a lot of things are coming up, which I can't see, which I don't understand. And this restlessness is something, it's valuable that it's coming up. And I stay with it.
Excellent. Yes, yes. And the restlessness is at one level, at a kind of a fairly superficial level, not totally surface, but close. The restlessness is a desire to avoid something. And when you're not avoiding, the desire to avoid gets stronger. And so, yes, it is productive in that by staying with it, you're more likely to see what's behind it. But you don't have to see the details of what it is. Just recognize that there is something behind it. And so you're on the cusp of something just amazing, and that is the recognition of the fullness of emptiness, the recognition of the completeness of what this is, this, right? So it's irrelevant what comes up in a way. It's just that we can imagine that it is something that needs to be worked on. It doesn't need to be worked on. It just needs to be recognized. And that's enough, right? So you're not full of shadows that need the light shone on them, right? They only exist as potential. And when they get triggered, they become something that can be seen and they will dissipate. But we don't even need to trigger them. The restlessness is a kind of a triggering of them. And it is a kind of a wanting to get away from whatever might be trying to show itself. But just recognizing that something is there is enough for that to just evaporate and then be replaced by. There is no vacuum. There's no such thing as a vacuum. When that stuff is not there, when it dissolves, it will suck in a reality. A reality will flood in, and that reality is experience. That experience is we can't define it. We can't work it out. We can't categorize it. It is just way beyond that. But it's magical, and you're on the edge of that. So the idea that anywhere the idea that there is nothing is imaginary. There's never nothing. There's always everything. Oh, it's great. Yeah.
Yes, I feel like something like a waves coming from you and flashing over me.
Mm. But
Thank you.
they're not actually coming from me. They're coming from you, within you, washing over you, swimming in you, around you, encompassing you. They're everything, and they are me. But they're not emanating from me. They just yeah. It's just yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Is that stuff too woo woo for you, Jack?
No, it's no, it's not. Yeah. Today I started reading The Power of Now, and so a lot of Tammy's stuff today was really on kind of similar. The biggest difference for me is like he's very explicit. He's explicit. He's like, don't make another thought about time. He's just like, come back to now with all your attention, and that really resonated. And so I really did that a lot today. And I'm kind of thinking maybe it's feeling very, I'm not sure, between effortful and not, but it's the effort part I may be worried about or want your opinion about. Just like what is now, what is mu, what is time, what is presence and being present, and I have so many questions, but
Yeah, yeah. So tell me what is effort?
story.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm impressed. So
Yeah.
can you tell me how it's a story?
Well, when I went to go look for effort, I went into the past, so whatever. I don't. That's all I can really tell you, I guess.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So let's say using conventional language, let's say I want to lift a heavy weight, and in doing so, I'm 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 using maximum muscle strength to lift that weight. Where does the word effort fit in with that?
It's it's a selfing thing. It's a because you're right. It's the word effort is that I'm putting me and my being into this movement instead of just a description of muscle movement happening. Um, for that's how it is for me at least. It's like
Yeah,
when I say I'm putting effort into like putting my attention into now, it's that I'm like putting myself into it, I think.
yeah. So that's interesting. That takes it further than what I was thinking. But you're right. Yeah, there is definitely an identification going on with the word effort. Where there that idea that it's me that's doing it. It's not just muscles being exerted. But what I was thinking, what I was wanting you to appreciate was that the word effort is simply an intellectual description of how much muscles are being exerted. I was going to say how much effort is being put into lifting, but muscles being exerted is an objective way of describing it, and how much effort is a way of talking about that, right? So it's only a narration about what is actually happening, and that way it's a story.
Okay.
And what you introduced was something extra that I think is accurate, and that is that implied in the story is that there's a me doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, physicists would talk about effort in terms of maybe inertia and momentum and stuff like that. But as soon as we say the word effort, we're talking about a person, and there is an implication in it about it being good or something along those lines, isn't there? Although we do talk about wasted effort, don't we? But we still talk about, and so we're talking about intention. We're talking about the carrying out of intention with effort. And of
Yeah.
course, the implication when we believe effort is a real thing is that we can be successful or fail. That
And
if
we have to,
you,
I'm thinking that we have to like fight to control for the outcome or
yes, yeah,
fight for the action to go in the way, yeah, kind of outcome.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I remember years at school, every single report card that got sent home to my parents, they would write on it, Vincent could do better if he tried harder. Isn't that a version of effort?
Yep.
because
I'm
it was
sorry. My brother is. He gets the same lecture from my parents. That's what I'm smiling at.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, it's ingrained. It's definitely part of Western society, isn't it? Yeah,
Yep. But so okay. So here's a thought though. Is like Eckhart Tolle writes very clearly. He's like, put all of your attention into right now. Like, don't deviate. Like, really effortfully.
yeah,
But it's the same sort of level of description, in my opinion, as like attention or putting.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So
yeah.
if I
Put
say
a,
to you, put your attention into what you're experiencing now, are you is it more than absolutely totally ridiculous to say that you're going to do your worst at that?
yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Or yeah, it's
So
ridiculous.
so can I presume that you will do your best?
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean that you can't imagine doing better than what you do now. And if you can, then you might say, well, it wasn't my best because I can imagine doing better. But in actual fact, it was your best at the time you did it. Because whatever you do your best at it. That's just simply the way life is, as far as I see it.
Mhm. I could see that. Or you do it at whatever your capacity is.
Yeah.
Like,
So
you don't
the
even, it
problem
doesn't
with
even
the
have to be
way,
like effort, best, worst.
yeah. So I see a potential problem in the way Eckhart stated that, and that was that lots of people are going to attempt to do what he said, and they'll feel like a failure. That's pretty sad, isn't it? Because they can't do what he said because he described something.
But no, because failure is only, that's a thought about the past. That's, I just tried something and it didn't work, but already you're distracted now.
Hmm,
So I guess you technically have failed, but does that
yeah.
make sense?
So say the words again. What did he say? Put all of your
So now I'm hoping this isn't just my interpretation or like construction, but as far as I remember, it's like put all of your energy being into being as fully present right now as possible. Uh,
right.
don't don't create a past, don't create a future, ignore it. Just right now, what is happening?
Hmm,
Be with your sitting, your eyes, your.
yeah. So is there any way you can feel that you can't do that to the degree that he's asking you to do that? Or do you feel totally satisfied that you are doing it to that degree?
The feeling I got today is I was like, so first, your question is no, I couldn't have done it better. Like I was putting every ounce of anything I had into it. The problem was that the results, I was like, this is just the same old shit. It's not working.
Hmm.
Uh,
So therefore, I must be doing it
but
wrong.
I feel pretty, that said, I feel pretty good about this now thing. But, uh, no, I don't think that I was doing the attention into the now thing wrong. I think I did my best at that. My thought is that
There must be something else because it's the same old shit.
there's this, I can't answer that without thinking.
Yeah, okay. So I go along with what he said in terms of the value of being in the present. But I would say if you lined up 100 people and said be in the present, not very many of them would know how to do that. Not very many of them would be able to do that. And well, anyway, a lot of people would likely be thinking about being in the present and mistaking that for being in the present.
It's possible.
Say again?
That's possible. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
say I'm not
yeah,
gonna
we don't
agree with
know,
you
of course.
wholesale on that, but
Yeah, we don't
yeah, that's
know.
the other
Yeah,
thing. Like,
yeah,
what is now? What is the present?
yes. So if I say to you, be fully in the present, what does your mind do?
Like, what do I do with that?
Yeah. What's the response to that one?
Like
Physically
right
and
now, I've
mentally.
been coming back to like what like right now. I'm seeing your face. I'm feeling the feelings and everything that's going on now. I feel my feet right
Yeah,
now.
yeah. Okay. So, of course, when you describe that, you're telling me a story about what you're doing. You're not describing directly what is going on.
Yes, but there the I yeah, but I was
Yeah, and
feeling my feet.
I'm not saying that you weren't aware of what was going on, and then in order to tell me about it, of course you've got to go to a story level to tell me about it, right? But how much of your attention was on the sensations in your body, including the sensations of hearing, of seeing my face, etc.? How much of your attention was on the experience of seeing, the experience of hearing, the experience of feeling, and how quickly did you get away from that in order to describe it?
Yeah.
I'm not asking for an answer on that. I'm just saying they're the levels that are involved in that. And so one of the things that I believe, a story that I've got, is that in our Western society, we frequently mistake thoughts about something for the actual something, and they're not. There is a difference. But our brain, we train it to believe that thoughts about the something are the something.
That makes me feel very sad because I feel like I can't got nothing left I can possibly do. Like, and I could guess you might say great, but
Well, what I'm hoping, what I'm wanting is that I'm offering you the possibility of seeing two distinctly different things that could be happening, and that when you can differentiate between those two, it opens up the availability of the direct experience stuff in a much bigger way. But if you can't distinguish between the two, then you're not going to know which one is going on.
um, It's tricky. I think I
Yeah.
got it more, but I mean, more than you might think, but I'm, I'm kind of sick of learning concepts.
Well, okay, here's another
I
one.
just want it. That's the it. That's not a concept.
Hmm. Let me put it another way then. One way that you might use one technique you might use to distinguish between the two, and that is that what is actually going on can't be described. If you can produce a narrative about it, you're talking about the concept. You're not talking about the experience. Now, it's not that we can play with this a bit, but essentially, what is actually going on. So when you're in the now, you can't describe it.
And why
You,
not?
because you have to move up out of experience at the level of experiencing into the level of thinking about it in order to form the words.
Let's see. So it's not that it is intrinsically indescribable, it's that we're not equipped to describe it and
Yeah,
also be
yeah.
with it.
Words. The English language is too limiting, if you like, to be able to describe it accurately. But that's not. Don't focus on that. Just focus on the idea that the experience, the complexity and subtlety of the experience is going to be beyond the ability of words to accurately reflect on it.
But now you've given me a concept to go look for. Like, is this too hard to describe? Yes, no. Yes, well that's a description.
Hmm. So think about the feeling where your butt hits the whatever you're sitting on. That feeling, right? So I said think about it, but really I'm meaning put your attention there.
And it's hard to describe.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to describe, is it? And if you try to, is it more pressure on the left buttock than on the right buttock, or the other way around, or is it warm or is it cool? Is it what? How you? No way you can possibly talk about the feeling of pressure and the feeling of temperature at the same time, yet they both exist at the same time. So you can kind of sink into that feeling, that sensation, but where it begins and where it ends is not very clear, and all of the characteristics of it are not very clear, but they're there. You can experience it fully. But in order, the moment you try to start talking about it, you lose touch with what it feels like.
Yeah.
So being in the now, or being with this, or however you want to, whatever words you want to use to point to that, what Eckhart was pointing to, requires you to be immersed in the complexity of what it is you're experiencing. And in that, there is no past or future. There's no now and then. There's not even any there or here. Well, there kind of is, but it's involved in the experiencing, isn't it? It can't be separated out. There are no words that can accurately do anything about it. Now, we're not talking about living there. When Eckhart says get into that, he's saying don't get lost in the other stuff. Don't get lost in the world of concepts. Don't get lost in ideas about the future or memories of the past. Don't get lost in bullshit concepts like worth or good or bad or anything like that. That's what I imagine he's saying.
Well, shit, I don't know. It's pretty direct, or confrontational, maybe. It's like live in the now. Don't worry.
But well, it's a great theory, live in the now, but you can't, can you? How
I
can
think
you?
he would say that's the only thing you could do.
Well, when you get out of bed in the morning and you go looking for clothes to put on, are you living in the now? Or are you imagining I'll put on this t-shirt or those shoes or that pair of pants or
Well, but right now, on a certain level, you're not living in the now because there's no clothes and it's not the morning.
yeah, I'm in fantasy land completely, yeah.
Yeah. So why are we doing that? What's the point? Or
Well, we're pointing out
is
that you can't live in the actual now all the time. It's not neither desirable nor possible.
okay.
But but the alternative, right, that you can get lost in fantasy land and live in the future or the past, that's not desirable either. So what we're really talking about is a balance. So
Yeah.
when you get lost in, well, for a start, if you get into suffering, you can be sure that there's a fantasy about the future or the past, but most likely the future, right? And so one way out of that is to get into the now.
Yeah.
But a huge thing is to simply recognize that that what the now is, as opposed to what the opposite is or what the alternative is, however you want to describe that, it means that both are involved. So if you were to be in the now to that level of what we were talking about there, with your awareness of the sensations of sitting, if you were to stay there when you walked outside, your chances are you're going to get run over by a bus really quickly. So of
You
course,
don't think your body's smarter than that?
well, yes, it is. Yeah, and I agree with that, you know. But what I'm saying is that it's a level of planning, a level of anticipation. They're all valuable.
Yeah. He
Being
does say that. Like for sure, he's like there's clock time and then there's psychological time. That's how he defines it. And like clock
Yeah.
time is it's 2:44 my time and and then we're back to suffering and oh that's psychological time. Get rid of that. So
Mm, yeah.
I can't really say I understand the difference. I'm not sure I want to because that's my understanding is that's thinking, if that makes sense. Or
Mm.
I don't know, what do you think? Should I flesh that out?
If I hark back to stuff I've said in the past, one of the things was I described that we create a cage a jail, if you like, a cage that we lock ourselves in with our thinking, and and that when we move towards this waking up thing, whatever that is, we unlock the door, but we don't ever dismantle the cage completely. We just have unlock and push the door open, and we can kind of be in and out at will, so to speak. Ease and the consequence is that the cage still exists, but we're not locked in it anymore. And so all that's really about is the ability to recognize if we still caught up with and lost in some of our stories about life, then we're still locked in that cage. When we've got those stories, but we recognize them as stories, and if they're useful, we'll use them, and if they're not, we won't. Then the door's open, and we can be in and out of it at will. So that's kind of a metaphorical way of looking at this kind of stuff. So thinking is useful, but if you're caught in it, it's not. It's a problem.
Okay. I guess last question is, does Moo still have juice for me? Not.
Yeah. I want to say when you think the word mu or hear it, and it immediately says beyond thoughts, stop thinking, get back into the now, then that's really valuable for you.
Okay. Hmm.
So when you start thinking about the future, when you start thinking about how your relationship might go, with how worthwhile you are, how successful you are, every time those thoughts turn up, I want the thought mu to jump up and shout, moo, moo, moo.
I see. Interesting.
Have you thought of this one? Here's an interesting one that comes to mind, or my mind does this kind of thing. Although we're talking about mu spelt mu,
Moo the cow.
the way we hear it is moo the cow, M-double-O. Moo, moo. And
It's a little sillier.
there's kind of something that, appropriate about that.
Yeah, I get it. I don't. I know it's the point. I don't get the freaking story at all. I don't understand. I know that's the point. It just bugs me why the story is there at all, and it's not just sit on the word moo.
Mm.
Uh,
So is there a story
moo.
about moo? What's the story of moo? I don't know it.
It's student asks Vince, does a dog have Buddha nature or not? The story sometimes goes. Vince
Mm.
just says moo. It's
Yeah,
not a yes, not a no. Some recounts it is a no, actually. Some recounts it's a yes. A lot of people take it for like unasked the question. And then I guess the only other part is sometimes they're like, what is moo? Is like we're supposed to sit on what is moo? Moo. Moo. Don't try to figure
yeah,
anything out. That's the whole thing. But what the
yeah,
frick does the story have anything to do with it? I don't.
yeah. That's just a way of presenting it. Yeah. So what is? Answer me this. What is moo?
Moo.
It's a sound. Yeah, right. It
It's not even a
means
sound. It's moo.
it doesn't mean anything. That's right. Exactly. Has no meaning. Yeah, unask the question. What does it mean? Mm. So the story is just a way of giving some context to it. Right. So I came up with things the other day that were as equally valid as a story, ridiculous things like, what did I say? Can a blade of grass run across the paddock? Can pigs fly? Whatever. Anything that's just totally ridiculous. Because with a ridiculous question, it's unanswerable because it's a ridiculous question.
Okay. Yeah, I guess maybe I don't see how it's a ridiculous question.
Mm.
I know
So
it's
would
that
you
it's a
say that,
dualistic question. Oh yeah, hi.
would you say hi? Would you say that the dog part of the story is just a distraction? It's just,
I think so. Um,
yeah.
but it's frustrating because Moo is in the story, or it's, does that make sense? Like they're saying what is Moo, and they give you context for Moo, so it's hard to separate it. So, but that's also part of the point is you're just like, okay, Moo, who cares, Moo. But it's designed to kill your intellect understanding.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That's what I
Yeah.
know about it.
And
But
meant
then
to.
the mind go, yeah. But then the mind goes, why? So why, if it's just supposed to stop your thinking, why tell the entire story and talk about a dog or the
Yeah, that's my
master
thought.
and the disciple and like, but why giving it this context? Why creating this context if it's just, yeah? And I know it can be said as just mu. It can be reduced as just mu, the whole koan. And some people just work on this part. But there is also the story of the dog and of Joshua and the disciple, and the disciple asking a question to Joshua and the dog. So it's all just meaningless context to
I
mu.
would say maybe Moo could be a good koan for you. That's my thought, but
Yeah.
Mm-mm-mm.
So another thing to appreciate with things like this is that they came from a different time and a different social structure and so on. Yeah. So people thought differently.
yeah. Also, I'm sorry, David. That
No, no,
oh, I don't
it's.
want. I don't know why I said that.
I mean, I use it in meditation for some time. I used Mu in meditation sessions, and I came to the same non-conclusion that it's just Mu. It's just what it
Yeah.
is. It's just
Moo,
here.
yeah.
It's just.
Yeah.
But there is always this doubting part of me, this intellectual part. All the thoughts they appear and come up and say, no, it can't be so simple. It can't be. It must be some clever answer or some clever gesture that you make in front of the teacher, and the teacher approves you. So it must be something very clever, but it's just more.
Yeah.
It's just maybe supposed to pin
Yeah.
you down and to keep you there, and to
Yeah.
keep your mind still, so it doesn't go in other places. That's
Yeah.
what I
I would.
came up
I,
with.
I I imagine that the story context for it is partly to entice you to think that there is something to work out.
Yeah, yeah. The
And then, and,
story tells you
and
that there is implies that there is a solution,
yes,
but it's
and
it's
then
not
and
a
then when you
rational
can't find
solution.
one, yeah, you
Yeah.
you discover you
And
discover
and the fact that mu, or in Chinese it's a wu, it really means not
yes,
in
stop,
Chinese.
not, no, empty, nothing. Yep,
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
other
it's
tricky
it's a
part is
negation, and
so like
and
one.
that also
Go
like
ahead.
hints at the solution, but there's not like uh maybe a solution that you can express through language. It's really the immediate this that is here, and it's outside the reasoning, and it's.
Yeah, absolutely. Outside of reasoning. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I've been using it too during meditation, but I don't know if there is a point at which you can tell, yeah, I have an answer. I have an
You got
answer.
moo.
But because the moment you have an answer, the
Yeah, you're
mind
right.
is
You
already
haven't. Yeah,
involved.
yeah.
Hmm.
And so it can't be a logical answer. It
So
can be.
you might imagine the possibility that the not the inability to find an answer at an intellectual level is a bridge across into an experiential level.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bridge. It's something that it's meant to catapult you
Into
to
moo.
another state, another a different state, or
Mm,
what the mind perceives as a different state, but it's just what
yeah,
already is here. So
yeah, yeah. So if I find an alternative, I've been looking for an alternative to uh, to moo in the English language, and I'm thinking, oh, maybe the word no or whatever. But I come up with a better one. Here's what I come up with as an alternative to moo. Ah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's a good one too.
Yeah, I was just saying it, or just the sound of your breath could be a different mood.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
there's no attempt to do something with meaning. It can only be experienced.
yeah. There was
Yeah.
that other koan in which like there was this Zen master who had to choose his the next abbot of the monastery, and so he asked all his disciples to describe this bucket of water, and the one that really gave the answer was the one that just kicked the bucket. And so the other ones tried to describe it using some image, some metaphor, some poetry. And then the last one just kicked the bucket, and that was the one.
Yeah. I would have picked the bucket up and tipped the water over him. That would have been better.
Yeah. Yeah, those Zen koans, those are very funny. A lot of them are very like they. What I like about Zen compared to other traditions is this comical side, this very
Yes,
out
it's
of
a
yeah, yeah, they always point to and there is this it's full of paradoxes and comical scenes and moments and
That was maybe the one thing I was going to mention is that I've heard an interpretation of moo is that it creates a paradox. So then the point is like, what is moo? Because if everything has Buddha nature or is Buddha nature, and he's like, no, not Buddha nature, that's a contradiction, right? So what is moo? I was curious what you thought of that. I think that's more distraction, sort of, but it's interesting. Um,
yeah, it's like saying that everything has Buddha nature and nothing has Buddha nature at the same time. It's like because if you think about having Buddha nature, not having Buddha nature, it's already in the mind. So everything has it and everything doesn't has it at the same time. It's that it's the paradox. It's the nature of the paradox.
that's a good
okay.
one. How can they both be true? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's about short-circuiting the logical thinking and the rational mind, and see what's left if you short-circuit it. What's left after?
Mm.
Yeah, I'm really just no understanding.
Yeah, and that's the point. That's the point. Not understanding, not understanding and not understanding. What's in between?
Yeah, yeah,
True
yeah.
and false.
So,
What's in
so,
between?
so when you say not understanding, Jack, good.
I know, I know.
Moo.
Oh, yeah.
Ah!
Yeah, even the sound of laughter. It's that.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's good stuff. This.
yeah. What about one hand clapping?
Is that an appropriate one? I mean, I've played with that one, but I'm not very curious about it because I don't know. I'm just
Yeah,
it's like whatever. It's a hand. It's the sound, basically the sound of a hand, which is I don't know. It's
There's that Simpsons episode in which like Bart gives the answer, like Lisa
yeah.
gives
See, that's not
one
so
hand
good because
corner.
there's
Yeah, can
ways
you hear
around
it?
it, isn't
Just
there? Yeah,
yeah, the
yeah.
one that I find tricky is the one of the tree falling in the forest when there is no one listening to it. Does it make a sound? That one is trickier for me because it has to do with all all of science, all of the beliefs that we have about reality and matter and stuff really existing outside. That triggers a lot of stuff in
Mm,
my mind.
yeah, yeah. I like that one. I use that one a lot because it shows at a scientific level that the tree falling just vibrates the air, and
Mm,
it takes an ear some kind of a mechanism. It could be a microphone to
yeah,
translate the vibrating air into a sound. And so consequently, that sound happens inside us, just as sight and everything else happens inside us. And indeed, our experience of the world is happening inside us. It's nothing objective out there that is of relevance to us. We only have our interpretation of anything, of everything. So that's a very useful one at a scientific and biological level. That one for me. So I don't really see it as a koan. I see it as a way into
mm.
recognizing that my experience of everybody and everything is my interpretation inside me.
I wonder
And
what you
would you
think.
say?
I don't know
Go
if this
go.
is a koan or if Vince would think it's a good koan, but what is the sound before sound?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's
like
a
the
good one.
original face one. What was your face? What was your original face before your parent were born?
Yeah, that's a perspective I heard is that all moo, face before your parents, and the sound of one hand clapping, they're all trying to get at the question of like who am I or what am I? Um, yeah.
Yeah, they all point to a different place where that it's pre pre-verbal, pre-thoughts, pre where where the mind hasn't superimposed its interpretation. So that implies that the me isn't there, isn't already there. So it's a place in which the mind hasn't yet construct all the stuff, hasn't yet created all the stuff.
That the mind creates. Yeah. So what is there other than that which the mind creates? And if that is the answer to those koans, and that is also the answer to what you are, not who you are, but what you are. And
That,
that
that
is experience.
that points me back to the tree one, the falling tree one, because okay, the mind creates, but is there something even if when there is no mind, is still there something when there is no one listening to the falling tree? Is there something there? Or is that the case, as you were saying, that the sound is in the ear as much as it is in the tree, as much as it is in the air? It takes all of them for
No,
there to be a sound.
I would say there is no sound until the brain interprets the message that comes into the ear. And the message that comes into the ear is simply air vibrating. It gets translated into a nerve signal, which gets sent to the brain, and the brain gives you the experience of sound.
Yeah. Simply, yeah, there is, if you look, there is no sound, there is just
No.
what it is.
Yeah.
And
So the brain gives you the experience of a sound. Right? And your experience is going to be different to my experience for the same vibrating air because we have different DNA and we have different life experiences, etc. And that's where the difference will be subtle, but certainly it'll be different, right?
mm,
So what there is experience. And if we want to be pedantic about it, we can say that experience is an interpretation of something, right? Or it's modulated by our conditioning. That's what I mean by interpretation.
yeah, and even air, vibration, these are all just it's concepts all the way down if you look into
Yeah,
that.
sure. Absolutely. Yeah. So it sounds like I'm being funny, but I'm not. Is there a tree? Is there a tree to fall? Is there a tree falling? Is there a forest if there's no one there?
Mm-mm.
There's not, is there? We can only
Mm.
imagine it. It's only a concept.
I think there's not a question. That's moo.
Yeah, yeah.
But would you say that at the end, when concepts are taken out of the equation, when everything is taken out, is there still something? Like, can there be something? Is there really something? Because what's the difference between nihilism and this kind of perspective we're talking about. Like nihilism, it says that nothing, there is no meaning, nothing, there is nothing, there is everything is meaningless, there is nothing.
That's so you got to be careful here. Nihilism is saying everything is meaningless. Therefore,
Mm.
and there's a whole book that comes after
Mm.
that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, there's still an
Yeah.
ideology.
So all meaning at an intellectual level is created. It's made up, all of it. Okay, Jack. So does that mean that there is no meaning? No. Can we define meaning? Probably not.
Mm.
So the old story that I use is you and me and a dog and a cat and a cricket and a frog are all looking at a tree. Every one of us has a different interpretation of that tree. Which one is right? You know, the insect
Mm.
seeing it in ultraviolet, is it right? Or am I right? Or is the dog who sees it in less colours than I do, is it right? Or is the
Pretty
frog
sure
that
I'm
only
right.
sees movement, is it right? Right? We don't
Mm.
know. No, but we can't say anybody's right. All we can say is each of us have our own experience of that tree. What is it actually? What is the absolute? We don't know. Does the absolute exist? We don't know. You want to spend your life trying to work out if the absolute exists, go for it, but you're wasting your time.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah. So we
But
don't
there is
know.
a whole castle of beliefs built upon the belief that there is something.
Yes,
So,
yes, and that might be the
so we,
beginning
we are
of
kind is
of
compelled to try and find the truth, if there is something or if there is
yeah.
nothing. So the
So
mind wants to
so
know because it's
yeah,
the basis, the foundation of all a castle of beliefs.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So what I say to you about this stuff is that it's very relevant to our experiencing life in a quote quote good way, right?
Mm.
That 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 for me to spend any time trying to work out if there is an absolute and what it is a waste of time. I've got much more to do with my life than to worry about that. I can't know, so therefore I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a big one. So is there such a thing as an ultimate truth? I don't know, but for me it's irrelevant. I don't think so. So can we say, well, we're going to search for the truth, we want to know the truth? Waste of time. Everybody's going to have a different interpretation of what that is.
Yeah, I
I don't.
love that you stress this point very often, that the accepting not knowing.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Vince, it's occurred to me that you've essentially created a belief about an absolute, but it's that belief has killed your suffering. Does that make sense? That
Yeah.
that's why
Yeah. It
you.
does. And that may be exactly right. Yeah. So I also say this, and I don't say it very often, but it's stories all the way down, right? And some of those stories we'll describe as beliefs. So can I know anything? Is it possible for me to know anything? No. It's only possible for me to have beliefs about things. So it's stories all the way down. There's nothing but stories and my response to them. But I tell you what, my stories are better than your stories. Or if I examine that, of course, that becomes a bit ridiculous. But essentially, my stories lead to a pretty good experience of life here.
Yeah, or my stories make more sense than your stories. Yeah.
Well, my stories make more nonsense than yours. Yeah, yeah, it's an interesting one. All right. Well, before your computer dies, Jack, I'm going to go. So, yeah,
Thank you, Vince. Thank you,
good one,
David.
Thank
Is
you,
it
everybody.
guys.
David?
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Davide, David, it's okay.
All right.
Right.
All right. Thank you. See you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.